Hey gang, welcome to the party. I decided today I was feeling up to doing a little something and I thought I wanted to try some dyeing. So I'm going to use my electric fry pan and I have amethyst purple and sunshine yellow. And I want to find out what happens when they blend. I'm thinking it might make a really cool bronzy shade where they blend together. So we're going to try it out. So for now I have 100 grams of roving soaking in here. This is 4 tablespoons of citric acid in 4 cups of hot water. And I'm just going to pour this in here. Now I'm making it a really strong acid bath so that hopefully it'll soak it up pretty quick. Let me just turn you down a bit here so you can see what I'm doing. There we go. All right, so I just soaked my fiber in plain water. Now, because the finish is peeling off of this fry pan, the aluminum underneath might actually affect the dyes. Aluminum reacts with dyes, but I'm not worrying about that too much because, I just don't worry about these things. I should probably be wearing gloves because my hands are a mess, but, it's just not what I do. All right. I'm going to add just a bit more water to that. There. That's good. Give enough for a little bit of movement, but not too much. This is just Blueface Leicester. I bought a bump of it, so pretty much when I'm dyeing, it's Blueface Leicester. Okay, so now I want some measuring spoons. This is dye stock solution. It's 1%. I could do the calculations and all that, but I like to make it simple. So I'm just going to take a little bit of water. How much have I got? About 1/4 cup of water. And I'm going to add, looks like 15 milliliters of sunshine yellow. Now this dye, I'm going to have to just mix as I need it because as you can see, it doesn't stay in suspension very well. I think I might add 30 milliliters. There we go. 2/4 cup of water. And let's see how this turns out. Pop the lid back on that. And I'm going to turn the heat on. Just going to put it to warm for now. And just spread this around. I'm going to kind of splatter it a bit. All right, so there's that. So there's another 1/4 cup of water. Just got to rinse off my spoon. And I'm going to add, now this I think is going to be a much stronger color, so we may only need 15 milliliters. I believe that will do the trick. And we're going to plop it into the blinds, or the white spots. And we're going to see what happens. And grab my tongs. it needs a bit more purple. So I'm going to get another color, a cup of water. And we're going to add some more purple. Well, I would say it's not going bronze, it's going green. Interesting. It's starting to boil, so I'm just going to turn that off. I've got enough heat. Put some purple there. Put a little more there. And dump the rest right there. Okay. Now, just going to move this around a bit. And try not to move it too much. I don't want to felt it. All right. And we'll turn the heat back on and wait for the dye to exhaust. It's not far off. There's only a little bit of it in suspension, but I used such a strong citric acid solution so that I would get that. Now I'm going to put on another 100 grams to soak. There we go. Just push that down. Let the volcanoes escape. It's making some really interesting colors, I have to say. There's some pinks popping up and some greens. And of course, purple and yellow. The green is the part that's really surprising me. So I'm guessing that the blue is breaking out of the purple and blending with the yellow to make that green. Not sure I'm overly fond of this. So I think I'm going to swap out the yellow for sunshine orange for the next batch, if I have some mixed. I don't have any orange mixed. No, I do not. I got ruby red. Huh, that's weird. Well, all right then. Let's swap it out for ruby red. Let's see how our dye bath is doing. A little bit left. So I'm going to give it one more blast of heat. This is a very interesting color. Not sure I like this, but it's an experiment, so you know, we try. I do notice it looks much more vivid on camera than it does in my pan. It's a much more muted palette in here than I'm seeing up there. Okay, that corner. Still a little purple over there. That corner's clear. Oh, there's some in the middle. All right, so what I'm going to do, shut off the heat. And I'm going to pop the lid on. And I'm just going to let it cook for a few minutes and wait for the last of that dye to absorb. We'll be back. So I gave it a few moments while I got ready for the next batch of dyeing. And it looks like, yep, the dye bath is clear. So I'm going to fish this out. So this is an old salad spinner. Oh, look, there's some lovely peaches in there too. So I just take it to the sink and I pull the basket out, flip the bowl upside down and let it drain in the sink. So I will do that. And we will get the next batch of fiber into the pan. Woo, warm. This one I'm not going to worry about keeping it all perfectly straight. I'm just going to make sure it's all in there. And I will put my last batch into soak while we work with this one. All right, now I have mixed up, I said half a cup, it's half a liter or quarter liter on the last one. Now I've used half a liter of Amethyst Purple and Ruby Red. So now, just gonna slop it around. I probably shouldn't have used red. What was I thinking? Oh well. And now we're going to go in and dribble its purple. Oops. It's a good thing I have a dye studio. It's like I have 4 of these gorgeous Pyrex measuring cups and they're all for dyeing. I don't have one in my kitchen. What's my priority? All right, well, let's get the heat on. Swish this about a bit. Lift it up to let some of the color get underneath. And I do want white in this, so I'm not too worried about getting the color everywhere. All right, so it looks like this is going to go pink and purple. Interesting. Now, Ruby Red, I believe, is the cool red. So I think for our last one, what we're going to do is the Amethyst Purple and the Amazon Green. I'm really literally just mucking about to see what happens. Here, I think it's a very predictable result. We're just getting pinks and purples. Not that it isn't lovely. I'm just looking for interesting blends. And I'm not going for strong colors right now, just mucking about as I'm wont to do. Okay, more than want, as I always do. And as anticipated, the red is still in suspension. A lot in suspension. Let's see if we can get some of it to flow under it a little more. All right, quit mucking with it, Tammy. You're going to felt it. Bad. All right. So I'm going to turn the heat off. Going to pop the lid on. And I will get my dyes mixed up for my next experiment. And see if this is exhausted yet. So I will be back. So the red has had a few minutes to think about its actions. Let's see if it's learned any lessons. Wow, did it ever come out pink? And I still see some red floating around in there. So disobedient. Not much though. All right, I'm going to give it another blast of heat and another couple minutes of a soak once it's warmed up. There's not a lot of red left in there, just in a couple of little spots. So I just want to make sure it's well exhausted because I'm just reusing the water. So I don't want to bleed my colors one into the next. I want to make sure my dye bath is clear. I do this all the time. I will reuse the dye bath once the color has completely exhausted. I've never had an issue with it as long as you make sure your water is clear so you don't get contamination from one bath to the next. And it's always worked fine for me. I mean, absolutely, if you want, you can use a fresh bath every time. I don't know if it's just lazy or cheap, because I don't want to, have to keep adding more citric acid, and I don't want to have to keep making a new dye bath. So maybe it's lazy and cheap. I'm good with that. Now, the nice thing about using this electric fry pan is it heats up the whole pan very quickly because you're only, this much water. It doesn't take much heat. As you can see, like I'm literally putting it to warm and it gets it to boiling. I don't know if you can see the little bubbles there. Gets it to boiling pretty quick. And then I just shut it off, pop the lid back on. Oh, look, it has a little steam valve. How cute. I didn't even know that. Again, bought at a yard sale. Can't be used for food with the interior peeling, but it works fine for my needs. These are like things you can pick up anywhere, dirt cheap, and you don't have to invest a lot to be dyeing at home. So we will let that completely exhaust and then we'll go on to the next one. Yay! Give it a few more minutes. Just want to check. I'm seeing no little swishes of color, so it's good to come out. So this is actually really a very pink. So for reds, I'm guessing I would have to use a lot more than what I did to get a true red color. All right, let's get the last batch in. Real time, it's probably been about a half hour I've been doing this. So it honestly doesn't take that long to have some fun. Ooh, that's warm. Warm. I know, quit sticking your hands in it then, silly. But where's the fun in that? All right, we got our last batch in the fry pan. Woohoo! Now, this is the Amazon green. I've worked with it before, and like the red, it is very hard to exhaust. So I actually put an extra tablespoon of citric acid into this one. And I also used 45 milliliters of dye stock for this and the purple. So let's splash some color around. But it is like this gorgeous tealy green. Like it's such a beautiful color. I'm going to start with that much, save a little bit. Then I'm going to splash some purple around. You know what? I don't even want to move it. I'm liking this splotchy pattern we got going on here. So I think I'm going to heat this to let that start setting before I even move it. We'll let some of that color strike right where it is. Wow, that's pretty. I'm such a jewel tone girl. I always want to make jewel tones, not pastels. But I'm hoping with the extra citric acid that I put in the Amazon green that it's going to strike really hard in these areas. And then when I manipulate it after it's had a chance to strike, I can move it around a bit to get the color distributed, because I put a lot of dye in this one, so it might take a while for this to exhaust. I can see that the purple has gathered a lot right there. I wonder, I'll just move it out a bit. But I'd say the Amazon green is struck already. I guess that extra citric acid really helped. Just letting it, I can see my little volcanoes. I call them volcanoes, where you can see the bubbles start to push their way up. And often that's because the fiber is trapping the heat under it. So if you just move it a little bit, it'll let that escape. So it's not actually boiling, it's just boiling in that spot. All right, let's move this around a bit. Sounds like I'm releasing the hounds of hell. Okay, there we go. Get a little more under there. Oh, there's a big pile of dye. Oh, I'm really liking, even where it's blending, this kind of metallic-y purpley blue that's coming through. Oh my goodness. Oh, I may have to play with mixing those two colors together. Wow, that is so pretty. Oh, I just invented something I'm in love with. Okay, I'm going to make notes on that. And this is the whole purpose of experimenting. I may only find one color that I really, really like, or I may find no colors that I really, really like. The point is, if I don't try, I will never know. So I will make notes on this. I'm going to shut the heat off now, put the lid on, let it bake, and then I'll put it to drain and cool. When they're all cool, I'll give them a wash, set them up to dry. I'll bring you back then, because that'll probably be, I'll probably let them cool for a couple of hours just to make sure that they're good in room temperature before I wash them, because I don't want to felt them, which honestly I'm very prone to do. I do confess fully when I felt my fiber, so whatever. So I will let this cook, and I will be back to talk to you a little later. This is just an interesting curiosity. This is commercially prepared BFL roving. This is this plain water I soaked it in. And you can see that there's still a fair amount of color, like muck or whatever, still in the fiber, even when it's commercially processed. So don't ever expect your fiber to be 100% clean until you've fully, dyed, spun, washed, whatever. By the time you're done washing it the gazillion times you do in processing, the last of this will be gone. Just thought I'd show you. All right, it's the next day. I've washed and dried our fibers. So let's have a look at how they turned out. So first of all, this was the Amethyst Purple and the Amazon Green. I love this, but as I mentioned, the Amazon Green, I exhausted the dye bath. It was set, and it still took me 6 rinses to get this to stop bleeding color. It's gorgeous, but something has got to be done about the way the color sets, because it just kept bleeding and bleeding and bleeding and bleeding. Now, I wanted to see how the penetration is. So I'm just going to pop this open. And it looks pretty good. There's some lighter bits, but not a whole lot. I just I'm loving this colorway. I'm going to have to figure out how to make it work because I so love it. So we have the purples going into almost pinky hues. We have the teals into like some paler pastel colors with some pops of the dark. It's really, really pretty. I'm very happy with how this one turned out. So this was the ruby red and the amethyst purple. It was amethyst purple day in case you hadn't guessed. I just wanted to try mixing other colors with it. So this one turned out quite lovely. Some of it's like a fuchsia into some lighter pinks, and then there's the purple. I would probably, if I did this again, oh, they make a nice blend together though. They make like this burgundy color here, which is quite nice. Penetration came out pretty good. Some lighter, whiter spots. Little bits of white here and there, but nothing too serious, and I don't mind a little bit of white. All right, so that one turned out quite nice too. I would probably do this again. Here is the most interesting and unexpected one. This was simply two colors. It was just amethyst purple and sunshine yellow. But the blends are so interesting. There are purples and browns and greens and yellows. Like, the color variety is absolutely crazy. So I'm actually quite fascinated with how this turned out. There's some peaches in here too. I don't know if you can see that, but there's definitely peach in there. And I mean, literally, it was two colors. There's some pinks, some more peach, some green. And you know, at first I was like, ew, what happened here? Now I'm totally loving it. I think it's going to be very interesting to see how it spins up. They are still a little bit damp. I left them inside. I probably should have put them out in the breeze to dry, but they're dry enough to handle. I just can't get over the variations in color on this. It's just freaking amazing and totally unexpected. It's kind of like a spring garden when those first flowers start pushing up through the snow. That's what it makes me think of. You get some green, some of these pale winter type greens when all the greens are dull from lack of sunlight and the cold. You got a little bit of lilacs kicking in, a little bit of sunshine yellow, and then you have your snow. Aren't I fanciful today? Anyways, it was a very interesting experiment and it turned out very, very interesting. Now, in case you didn't hear, that was Latte screaming at me that it is time to go to the catio since it is nice today. So I'm going to go pack up the cats and take them outside. You have yourself a good day. If you haven't, do the stuff down below. And I shall see you next time. Bye.